Do you find yourself constantly putting things off, telling yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," only to wake up the next day with the same empty promise? What if I told you that procrastination isn't just about poor time management, but a deeper disconnect between what we say we want to achieve and what we actually do? Yeah, I'm calling it out. Procrastination isn't just a bad habit. It's a mindset that needs shifting. And guess what? There's a powerful yet often overlooked philosophy that can help you crush this once and for all: pragmatism. It's not just some theory you learn in school, it's a practical approach to getting real results in real life. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how pragmatism can cut through your excuses and make action feel like the only choice, even when you're stuck in that familiar loop of hesitation. Stick with me, because what you're about to discover is going to change the way you tackle every project, every goal, and most importantly, every moment of hesitation. Don't just sit there. Let's break the procrastination cycle, starting right now. Keep watching. Number 1. The 5-minute sabotage. Start with the worst task. All right, let me hit you with a bold statement. Procrastination isn't your enemy, it's your secret weapon. Yes, you heard me right. What if I told you that procrastination isn't something to avoid, but something to use against itself? Sounds crazy, right? Now hold on. I'm not suggesting you embrace the couch potato lifestyle. I'm talking about flipping the script on procrastination by doing the one thing you absolutely don't want to do first. Intrigued? Yeah, I thought so. Now, you've definitely been there. You've got that one task staring at you, glaring at you like a monster under the bed. The one thing you keep pushing aside, thinking, "I'll get to it later." And the more you put it off, the bigger it gets. It grows and grows until it feels like it's going to swallow your whole day. And we all know how this story ends. Nothing gets done, you feel guilty, and the cycle repeats. But here's the thing. What if you could hack that feeling? What if you could go straight into the lion's den and come out victorious? That's where the 5-minute sabotage comes in. Here's the deal. Start with the worst task, the one you're avoiding the most, and do it for just 5 minutes. Sounds too simple, right? Trust me, it's the most powerful trick to break the procrastination cycle. You know why? Because it hits your brain in a way that shatters the myth of "I'm not ready" or "I can't do it." Your brain loves starting things, but it also hates the idea of failure. So when you give it a short, easy window, you trick it into thinking, "Hey, I can handle this. Just 5 minutes. After all, who can say no to that?" 5 minutes is a tiny commitment, but it sets the momentum in motion. Suddenly, the task doesn't seem as insurmountable. Let me share an example from my own life. There was this one work project I was dreading, a huge editing job that I knew would take me hours to finish, but instead of letting it loom over me, I forced myself to hit play and work on it for just 5 minutes. I sat down, opened the file, and focused on just one small piece. No pressure, just 5 minutes. And guess what? Once the clock ticked past that 5-minute mark, I wasn't about to stop. It felt good. I had already done the hardest part, starting. 5 minutes turned into 30, and before I knew it, the entire project was completed. The monster task disappeared. The procrastination that usually paralyzes me? Gone. And all it took was 5 minutes. This strategy does wonders for your mental peace. It's not about perfection, it's about action. You're not committing to finishing the whole thing right away, but you are committing to starting, which is often the hardest part. It helps you regain control over that nagging feeling of being stuck. Procrastination feeds on avoidance, but when you start, even for just a little while, you take away its power. You're in charge now. The next time you're facing a mountain of tasks, remember, you don't have to climb it all at once. Just start with the hardest part, 5 minutes, and let momentum do the rest. It's not about trying to be perfect or always getting it right. It's about taking that first step, silencing the internal resistance, and proving to yourself that you can get things done. Because at the end of the day, it's your time, your productivity, and your peace of mind. 5 minutes is all it takes to break free from procrastination and reclaim your space. Number 2, commit to imperfection. Ditch the perfectionist mindset. Here's a wild thought. What if I told you that perfection is the problem, not the solution? Yeah, I know. It sounds like something your high school English teacher might have scolded you about. But stick with me here. What if the constant pursuit of perfection is actually what's holding you back? What if you could be more successful, more fulfilled, and way less stressed by committing to imperfection? Yes, I promise you this isn't a trick. Let me explain why. You know the type. There's always that one thing you're putting off because you're waiting for the perfect moment. You want to start that project, write that blog post, send that email, but you've got to get it just right. We've all been there. You tweak and you edit, you stress over the tiniest details, and yet somehow it never feels finished. Maybe it's a presentation, a project, or even a simple conversation. The idea of putting something out into the world that's less than perfect is terrifying. So, what happens? You don't do it at all. You procrastinate, you second-guess yourself, and before you know it, days or even weeks have passed. But here's the real kicker. That so-called perfect version you've been chasing, it doesn't exist. Here's the twist. What if instead of striving for flawless, you commit to imperfection? Sounds weird, right? But hear me out. By letting go of the obsession with perfect execution, you open yourself up to something much more powerful: progress. You can make real strides and get things done faster by allowing yourself to make mistakes, to be good enough rather than flawless. Why? Because perfection is a trap. The moment you try to perfect every little detail, you're delaying growth. You're stalling. The sooner you embrace imperfection, the sooner you can move forward, and the more you'll learn along the way. I'll tell you about a time when I tried to break free from the perfectionism trap. I was working on a big video editing project. I wanted everything to be perfect. Every transition, every cut, every effect. I spent hours on the smallest details, agonizing over whether they were just right. At one point, I was so caught up in making the video flawless that I wasn't even close to finishing it. I felt frustrated, and the project became more of a burden than something I enjoyed. Then, out of sheer frustration, I made a decision. I was going to publish the video as it was, flaws and all. And guess what? People loved it. No one cared about the little imperfections. They saw the effort, the content, the message. I realized that my chase for perfection had only been holding me back. By letting go of it, I actually moved forward. Here's the beauty of this mindset shift. Committing to imperfection doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It means freeing yourself from the paralyzing pressure of being perfect. It's about getting comfortable with the idea that done is better than perfect. It's about making progress, not waiting for the stars to align. So, you can finally stop second-guessing every decision and start getting things done. This shift is liberating. It's about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your confidence. At the end of the day, the world needs your messy, imperfect work. Because when you try to get everything perfect, you miss out on the chance to share your unique voice, your ideas, and your creativity. And that's what really matters. So, make that imperfect decision. Write that imperfect email. Release that imperfect project. Because in the end, it's your effort, your action, and your courage that will make the difference, not your quest for perfection. Embrace imperfection. It's the key to unlocking your true potential. Number 3, reverse time blocking. Work when you're least productive. Here's a thought that's going to flip everything you know about productivity on its head. Work when you're least productive. Wait, what? Yep, you heard me right. The secret to unlocking your highest level of productivity might just be in doing the opposite of what everyone tells you. You're probably thinking, that sounds like the worst advice I've ever heard. But trust me, this isn't some gimmick. It's actually a game changer. We've all been there. You're trying to work during your peak hours, and yet something always seems to get in the way. The distractions pile up, your energy dips, or you just can't focus no matter how hard you try. It's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of bricks. We've been told time and again that you need to work during the hours you feel most productive, usually in the morning or after your first cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. What if your brain is just wired to be most creative or focused when you're not expecting it? What if your least productive time is actually when your brain needs a different kind of focus? Here's the deal. Reverse time blocking flips this conventional wisdom. It's about intentionally choosing to work when you think you're least productive. You're probably asking, but won't I just waste time? Well, here's the twist. By working during the hours you normally feel sluggish or unfocused, you're training your brain to focus when it's not conditioned to do so. It's a powerful technique for breaking through mental barriers. Think about it. If you usually try to work at 9 a.m. and fail, why not try 2 p.m. when you're usually running on empty? What you'll find is that you're forced to get more creative with how you approach the task. Your brain, desperate for a break from the monotony, will actually come up with new ways to tackle things. I had a real aha moment with this when I was working on a huge editing project. I had tried to work during my usual productive hours around 9 p.m. and of course, I just ended up scrolling through social media for an hour instead. So I decided to switch things up and work at 3 p.m. during my typical afternoon slump. Guess what? My brain was craving some stimulation, and suddenly ideas were flowing faster than I could keep up with. The task that I'd been avoiding for days was done in a fraction of the time. My brain was more engaged because I wasn't trying to force it into its productive state. It was actually fun, and I felt less stressed. That's the magic of reverse time blocking. Working when you think you should be winding down actually gets the best results. This strategy isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about embracing the ebb and flow of your energy throughout the day and using it to your advantage. It's about realizing that being productive isn't about working at the most popular time. It's about harnessing your natural rhythms. So let go of that pressure to work during your peak hours and embrace the time when your mind feels scattered or exhausted. It's about reclaiming your time and energy, not fighting against it. Next time you're struggling to focus or feeling unproductive, remember that you don't have to follow the typical rules. You can embrace the quieter hours and get more done. By reversing the clock, you're not just changing your schedule, you're changing your entire approach to productivity. Your brain, your energy, and your results will thank you for it. It's time to make productivity work for you, not against you. Number 4, procrastination as practice. Use it as an excuse to refine skills. Let's face it, procrastination is something we all love to hate. It's that sneaky, familiar feeling that creeps up when we know we should be working on something, but for some reason, we just don't. Now you might be thinking, yeah, that sounds about right. How can procrastination possibly be a good thing? Stick with me on this one, because I'm about to show you how procrastination can actually be the secret weapon you never knew you had. We've all been there, right? You've got that big task hanging over your head. Maybe it's a project, a report, a video edit, whatever it is, and yet, somehow, you end up binge-watching a random Netflix series or scrolling through social media for hours. It's like your brain refuses to cooperate. You're not being lazy, but you're definitely not getting things done. Now, instead of beating yourself up about it, what if you could turn that procrastination into a valuable opportunity? What if, instead of feeling guilty about wasting time, you actually used it to refine a skill or learn something new? Sounds crazy? Let me explain. Here's the twist. When you procrastinate, your brain is basically telling you, hey, I'm not in the mood for this task right now. Instead of forcing yourself into a state of stress, why not take that time to practice something that enhances your ability to tackle the task later? Let's say you're editing a video, but you're just not feeling inspired to finish it. Rather than staring blankly at your screen, why not use that time to experiment with new editing techniques or explore different tools in your software? Procrastination, in this sense, becomes practice. It's a chance to hone your craft in a way that isn't directly tied to the task at hand, but will make you better when you do get back to it. I had a moment like this when I was working on a tight deadline for a client. I had the whole thing set up in my editing software, but the motivation just wasn't there. Rather than forcing myself through it, I decided to play around with some new transitions and effects I'd never used before. Was I procrastinating? Sure, but I was also practicing and improving my skills in ways that would actually make my final product better. By the time I returned to the task, I had a new set of tools and techniques at my disposal, and the project turned out better than I expected. What could have been a stressful, unproductive day became a valuable learning experience. This is about taking the pressure off yourself. Procrastination isn't something to fear, it's just a sign that your mind needs a break or a different kind of challenge. By using that time to practice and refine your skills, you're not just avoiding the task, you're getting better in ways you might not even realize. And the best part? It removes the guilt. Instead of thinking, I'm wasting time, you can think, I'm investing in myself. Next time procrastination strikes, instead of seeing it as an enemy, treat it as an opportunity. Use it as an excuse to sharpen your skills, try something new, or dive into a mini project. By reframing procrastination this way, you're not only easing your stress, you're also becoming a better version of yourself. So, the next time you find yourself stalling, remember, you're not just wasting time, you're practicing. And practicing, well, that's just another form of progress. Number 5, set silly deadlines. Give yourself permission to fail. Here's a bold thought. What if you gave yourself permission to fail? I know, it sounds a little wild, right? But trust me, hear me out on this one. What if instead of stressing over perfection or worrying about missing some unrealistic deadline, you set silly deadlines? Yep, you heard me. Silly deadlines. And here's the crazy part. Those deadlines could be the key to actually getting things done. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, that sounds like the exact opposite of what I need, let's pause. We've all been there. You've got a big project looming, you're staring at a blank page, and the pressure to do everything perfectly keeps building and building. The more you try to focus, the more it feels like you're drowning in expectations. You know the type, the kind of pressure that makes even the simplest tasks seem impossible. And it's exhausting. So, how do you break out of that cycle? Here's the twist. Set a deadline that's absurdly early or just plain ridiculous. Tell yourself, okay, I'm going to finish this by noon, no matter how messy it is. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a recipe for disaster. But hold on. The idea behind these silly deadlines is to take the pressure off yourself and give you the freedom to fail. Yes, fail. Because the secret is, when we free ourselves from the shackles of perfection, we actually create space for productivity to happen. The clock is ticking, and instead of overthinking every detail, you focus on just doing. You don't get bogged down in the what-ifs or the "but what if it's not good enough" thoughts. You work with the absurd deadline, knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. I'll give you an example from my own life. I was working on a script for a video that needed to be ready in 2 days, but the pressure to make it perfect was paralyzing. I sat there staring at the screen, writing a sentence, deleting it, writing another, deleting that one too. It was maddening. So I decided to do something totally out of character. I set a deadline for myself. I would have the whole script ready by 2 p.m. no matter what. I didn't even care if it was rough. By 2 p.m. I had something I could work with. It wasn't perfect, but guess what? It wasn't supposed to be. The process became less about flawless execution and more about getting the ball rolling. From there, I could refine it, tweak it, and make it better, but I needed that silly deadline to actually start. This is about giving yourself the mental freedom to not be perfect. Perfectionism is a major roadblock. It's not only exhausting, but it often stops us from moving forward altogether. But setting a silly deadline removes the weight. It's permission to try, fail, learn, and keep going. You're no longer chained to the idea that everything must be flawless from the get-go. Instead, you embrace the messiness and take action, even if it's not exactly how you imagined. At the end of the day, setting silly deadlines is about reclaiming your peace and your creativity. It's about giving yourself permission to step away from the need for constant success and perfection. You're human, and you're allowed to stumble, make mistakes, and experiment. So, the next time you're stuck, remember, set a silly deadline. Let go of the pressure, take a breath, and just do it. Knowing you don't have to be perfect to move forward. Your peace, your progress, and your creativity will thank you for it. Number 6. The just one more task. Fallacy. Make a pact with yourself. We've all been there. You're sitting at your desk thinking, just one more task and then I'll call it a day. It sounds innocent enough, right? Just one more email, one more quick check on that report, or maybe a final glance at that project. But here's the thing, that just one more task mindset is a trap. It's a sneaky little fallacy that convinces you you're being productive when, in reality, you're setting yourself up for burnout. Now, you might be thinking, but one more task won't hurt, right? Yes, trust me, it does, because one more task often turns into 5 more, and before you know it, it's hours later and you're drained. Here's the kicker. What if I told you there's a better way to break free from this? You know the type. The person who can never stop. Maybe it's you. It's like you're in this never-ending cycle of doing, pushing yourself just a little bit further. One more task, then I'll rest, you tell yourself. But the rest never comes, and then, the next day, the cycle starts again. You know deep down that you're overextending yourself, but it's hard to break free from that just one more mentality, isn't it? It's almost like you're trying to prove something to yourself or to others, like being busy equals being productive. But here's the truth. It doesn't. The real key to sustainable productivity isn't about doing more. It's about knowing when to stop. So what's the solution? Make a pact with yourself. Set an intentional boundary for your day. Instead of tricking yourself into believing that just one more task is a good idea, give yourself a clear, non-negotiable stopping point. It sounds simple, but it works. The idea is to say, once I reach this point, I'm done. No more. What this does is it shifts your focus from the illusion of getting everything done to recognizing that your time and energy have limits. And that's okay. It's about reclaiming control. And when you're intentional about your stopping point, you'll be amazed at how much more you actually accomplish. It's like playing chess with your own productivity. Set up the boundaries, then play within them. Let me share a quick story to illustrate. A while back, I was working on an editing project and I was feeling overwhelmed. I told myself, just one more scene, just one more edit. It sounded harmless at first, but then hours passed. and I realized I was exhausted. My work was getting sloppy, and my brain was fried. That's when I decided to set a firm boundary. No more work after 8 p.m., no matter what. The next night, I stuck to it. And guess what? I woke up the next morning feeling refreshed, with a clear mind and a better approach to finishing my tasks. That pact gave me a sense of control and clarity I hadn't realized I needed. Here's the real benefit of this pact. It's not just about work. It's about reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your well-being. By setting these intentional boundaries, you stop living under the illusion that you need to be constantly productive. You allow yourself to rest, to recharge, and to return to your tasks with a fresh perspective. You stop feeling guilty for taking breaks and start feeling proud of knowing your limits. It's okay to say, "I'm done for today," and trust me, you'll be more effective for it tomorrow. So, here's the takeaway. Stop falling for the just one more task fallacy. Make a pact with yourself to set boundaries and stick to them. It's about respecting your time, your energy, and your mental well-being. When you can let go of the never enough mindset, you'll find that you actually accomplish more in the long run, and with a lot less stress. Remember, productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters, at the right time and in the right amount. Number 7. The doing nothing trick. Actively choose to do nothing. Here's a little secret that might blow your mind. The most productive thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Wait, what? Now, before you roll your eyes, hear me out. We've all been conditioned to believe that doing more is the key to success. The busier we are, the better, right? But what if I told you that taking a step back, embracing a bit of nothingness, could actually skyrocket your productivity and creativity? Now, you might be thinking, this sounds like an excuse to slack off, but trust me, it's anything but that. In fact, it's a powerful strategy that we often overlook. You know the type, the ones who fill every minute of their day with tasks, meetings, and a never-ending to-do list. We've all been there, right? Running on fumes, pushing through, convincing ourselves that we need to stay busy to stay on top of things. But after a while, you start to feel like you're running in circles. The to-do list never ends, the emails pile up, and your brain, completely fried. Sound familiar? It's exhausting. It's like you're working all the time, but somehow still feel stuck. Here's the twist. It's not about doing more. It's about doing less, and being intentional about it. So, what does this doing nothing trick look like? It's exactly what it sounds like, actively choosing to do nothing. But here's the catch. It's not about zoning out in front of Netflix or scrolling through social media. It's about consciously deciding to step away from the constant cycle of doing. Take a walk, sit in silence, or just let your mind wander. It's about giving yourself permission to simply exist without the pressure to constantly produce. Sounds a little rebellious, right? But it works. Psychologically, when you allow your mind to rest and not be consumed by tasks, your brain gets a chance to reset and recharge. You tap into creativity, gain clarity, and come back stronger. It's like hitting the refresh button, but for your entire being. I'll be honest, this idea was a tough sell for me at first. I used to think, if I'm not working, I'm failing. But one day, I decided to give it a shot. I was drowning in editing work, and my brain was running on empty. Instead of powering through, I left my desk, went outside, and took a long walk. I had no agenda, no thoughts of work, just me and the world around me. And guess what happened? Ideas started popping into my head. I started seeing solutions to problems I hadn't even realized I had. By doing absolutely nothing, I was able to refuel my mind, gain new perspectives, and tackle my work with fresh energy. It wasn't wasted time. It was an investment in my productivity. Here's the beauty of it. By consciously choosing to do nothing, you're reclaiming your peace and your energy. This isn't about being lazy, it's about being smart. It's about understanding that you don't have to be constantly busy to be successful. In fact, slowing down actually helps you move faster in the long run. When you give yourself that space to breathe, your creativity flows, your stress levels drop, and you're able to focus better. So, the next time you feel the urge to fill every second of your day, remember that doing nothing is actually doing something. You're recharging, rejuvenating, and setting yourself up for success. In the end, this is about respecting your time and your mind. You don't have to earn your rest. You're allowed to take it. So next time you feel overwhelmed, give yourself permission to step back. Embrace the art of doing nothing and watch how it transforms your approach to everything else. Your space, your peace, and your creativity are worth it. And when you choose to rest, you're not just making space for relaxation, you're making space for greatness. Number 8. The throw it away tactic. Eliminate the urge to overthink. Here's a little secret that might just change how you approach every decision, big or small. The throw it away tactic. What if I told you that the best way to stop overthinking isn't to sit there and analyze every angle, but to literally just let go of the thought? Yes, throw it away. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds a bit extreme, doesn't it? But trust me, it works. And I'm about to show you why letting go can actually help you make better choices. You know the type, the ones who get stuck in their heads, going over and over a decision until it feels like they're spinning in circles. We've all been there, haven't we? You're faced with a choice, whether it's a work project, a personal decision, or even what to eat for dinner, and you just can't stop thinking about it. You overanalyze the pros and cons, weigh all the options, and still, nothing. It's paralyzing. The more you think about it, the harder it gets to make a decision. The truth is, overthinking often leads to more confusion than clarity. But here's the twist. What if you made a pact with yourself to just throw that overthinking out the window? So here's the deal. The throw it away tactic isn't about avoiding decisions. It's about getting out of the trap of endless mental loops. It's about giving yourself permission to act without needing to analyze everything to death. The idea is simple. When you find yourself getting stuck in overthinking, just stop. Tell yourself, okay, I'm throwing this thought away. It's no longer useful, and move on. It sounds easy, but it's revolutionary. Psychologically, we often get stuck in the idea that every decision needs to be perfect, but in reality, most decisions don't require endless thought. The more we hold on to that urge to keep thinking, the more pressure we put on ourselves, and the harder it gets to make any choice at all. I'll admit, I've had my own struggles with overthinking. There was a time when I couldn't even decide what to put in a video edit without endlessly rearranging clips for hours. It was exhausting and frustrating. Then, one day, I was just done. I decided to put the throw it away tactic to the test. I literally told myself, I'm throwing away the need to overthink this edit. And you know what happened? I made the decision quicker, and the final result. It was just as good as the hours I spent agonizing over it. More importantly, it felt freeing. I could focus on the work, not the perfection of every little detail. Here's the thing. Letting go of the urge to overthink doesn't mean you're being careless. It means you're trusting yourself to make decisions in the moment. You're creating space for clarity and peace instead of chaos and doubt. It's about reclaiming your time and your mental energy. When you throw away the excess thoughts, you create room for better, quicker decisions. And let's be honest, how often do we overthink because we're afraid of making the wrong choice? But here's the kicker. Most of the time, there is no wrong choice. There's only learning and adapting. And when you throw away the need for perfection, you allow yourself to be more present and empowered in every decision you make. So, next time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, remember the throw it away tactic. You don't need to hold on to those thoughts. You don't need to make every decision perfect. Let go of the mental clutter, trust yourself, and move forward with confidence. Your space, your peace, and your clarity are worth it. By practicing this, you're not just improving your decision-making, you're reclaiming control over your mind. And that, my friend, is a strength you can carry with you in every aspect of life. Number 9. Disrupt routine. Break the daily cycle. Here's something you might not expect. If you want to get ahead, sometimes you have to disrupt your routine. I know, but routines keep us organized. Yes, they do, but they also keep us stuck. You might be thinking, that sounds like chaos waiting to happen, but trust me, shaking things up is exactly what you need to move forward. And I'm about to explain why it works. You know the type, those days when everything feels like it's on autopilot. You wake up, go through the motions, maybe catch up on some work or errands, and then, boom, it's the end of the day. You're left wondering, where did the time go? We've all been there, stuck in the grind of the daily routine day after day. It feels like you're following the same script over and over, and no matter how much you do, it doesn't seem to get you any closer to the breakthrough you're craving. I get it. Routine can feel safe, but it can also be suffocating, and that's where the disruption comes in. Here's the thing. Breaking the cycle isn't about throwing your life into chaos. Far from it. It's about intentionally choosing to step outside of the repetitive loop. It's about breaking free from the mental trap that tells you you're stuck. When you disrupt your routine, you create space for new perspectives, new energy, and new opportunities to arise. Psychologically, the brain thrives on novelty. When you break from what's familiar, your mind wakes up, and you start seeing things in a fresh light. It's like hitting the reset button for your creativity and motivation. And let's face it, staying in the same routine can lead to burnout, so a little disruption might be just the thing you need to spark a change. I've experienced it firsthand. A few months ago, I was caught in a never-ending cycle of work, edit, repeat. It felt like I was doing everything by the book, but I was losing my spark. One evening, I decided to disrupt my routine. I took a completely different route home. I spent some time in a different cafe, trying something new to break away from my usual spot. The change in scenery didn't just feel refreshing, it sparked a whole new perspective on a project I was stuck on. Suddenly, the ideas flowed freely. I came back home feeling energized, with a fresh sense of direction. That small disruption in my day unlocked something I hadn't even realized I needed. And here's the real power of disruption. It's not just about the new ideas or energy, it's about reclaiming control over your life. When you intentionally disrupt your routine, you break free from the feeling of being stuck. You remind yourself that you have the power to make change, even in small ways. This isn't just about switching up your environment, it's about breaking the mental patterns that limit you. This is about regaining your peace, your creativity, and your mental space to think and act differently. So, what's stopping you from breaking your routine? It might feel uncomfortable at first, but that's exactly where the magic happens. Challenge yourself to step outside the familiar and let the unexpected take over for a while. When you disrupt your routine, you don't just change your day, you change your mindset. And with that mindset shift, you can achieve things you once thought were out of reach. Your space, your peace, and your future are waiting for you. Don't let the daily cycle hold you back. Embrace the disruption and watch what unfolds. Number 10. Time travel strategy. Pretend your deadline is yesterday. Here's a bold idea. Pretend your deadline is yesterday. Now, before you roll your eyes and think I'm asking you to break the space-time continuum, hear me out. This trick isn't about bending time. It's about tricking your brain into kicking into gear when procrastination has been your unwelcome companion for far too long. Now, you might be thinking, How is that even possible? Yes, trust me on this. What if I told you that shifting your mindset by treating the deadline as though it's already passed could actually help you beat the clock? Intrigued? Keep reading. You know the type. You're staring at a project you've been avoiding. The emails pile up, your to-do list is mocking you, and your mental energy is spent on anything but the task at hand. We've all been there, right? The clock ticks on, and the pressure only mounts. You start convincing yourself, I'll get to it later, I still have time. But deep down, you know that later will turn into a mad scramble at the last minute. This is where the pretend it's yesterday trick comes in. It's about rewiring your brain to treat time like it's a non-negotiable, so you're forced to take action. The deadline has already passed. Now, what are you going to do about it? Here's the genius behind this strategy. When we view something as urgent, especially if it feels like we've already missed the mark, we activate a sense of responsibility and urgency that propels us forward. It's a psychological hack. By pretending your deadline is yesterday, you instantly create the feeling that time has run out, and this urgency doesn't just prompt you to work faster, it makes your focus laser sharp. You're no longer letting yourself off the hook. You've got no more excuses. It's now or never. And guess what? This push to take immediate action is often exactly what you need to break the cycle of procrastination. I'll give you a real example. The other day I had a video editing project that was getting pushed further and further down my list of priorities. It was supposed to be done by the end of the week, but as the days flew by, I kept thinking, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. But then I imagined my deadline had already passed. My brain flipped into emergency mode, and suddenly I had a burst of energy. I dove into the project like my career depended on it. It was like a light switch flipped, and before I knew it, I was on track and delivering faster than I thought possible. The stress was still there, but I had reclaimed control by shifting my mindset. Here's the thing. This strategy isn't about adding more pressure, it's about taking back your peace. It's about feeling empowered instead of overwhelmed. When you trick your mind into believing you've already missed your deadline, you stop overthinking and start doing. And when you start doing, it's amazing how much you can accomplish, even under pressure. You reclaim your time, your focus, and, most importantly, your ability to make things happen. So, next time you're facing a deadline that's creeping up on you, pretend it's yesterday. Feel the urgency like it's already late, and watch how your brain shifts into high gear. It's about taking ownership of your time, your tasks, and your peace. When you do that, you're not just working harder, you're working smarter. Your space, your focus, and your productivity are all in your hands. Own it. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this video gave you some valuable insights and practical tools to overcome procrastination using pragmatism. If you found it helpful, please give it a like. It helps more than you know. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, where we dive deep into practical strategies for achieving your goals. And if you know someone who's struggling with procrastination, share this video with them. They might just need that little push to get started. I'd also love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your personal experiences or challenges with procrastination. Let's start a conversation and support each other. Remember, overcoming procrastination isn't about being perfect. It's about taking that first step and being consistent. So go out there, get moving, and make progress, no matter how small. I believe in you, and I'll see you in the next video.